In the wonderful year of 1803, where absolutely nothing was going wrong, as France kept trying to tell themselves as the British kept trying to knock their door down. You see, Napoleon needed some cash to pay for the Great French War. The British had just re entered said war, and France was already losing the Haitian Revolution and couldn't defend Louisiana, so they were kind of stressed out. They had just gotten it back from Spain, and Great Britain was just not letting them have the time of day. So when good old Jefferson and Monroe offered some sweet, sweet dough, the little man couldn't help but accept. Accepting the consequences? But that's not important because today we're going to be talking about these two guys, Lewis and Clark. After Jefferson spontaneously combusted after France accepted his offer, since all he really wanted was New Orleans, but ended up getting this humongous amount of land, which he wasn't going to complain about. He knew this would be a great opportunity to try to find a route to the Pacific Ocean, so of course he needed to find the perfect candidate for the mission. Ah, my trusted and most loyal friend / secretary, Meriwether Lewis. Don't say my first name. Do you know anything about exploring and going up a river and mapping out everything and negotiating peace treaties with the native peoples? No, you're hired. Also, if you see any woolly mammoths, please let me know. I bet Monroe $20. Now, Meriwether here has a bit of history himself. He was born in Virginia in 1774, but spent his early childhood in Georgia. He got his education back in Virginia, where he graduated college in 1793 like the boss he is, and only proved himself a bigger boss by helping putting down the Whiskey Rebellion, and later became the captain of the U.S. Army at the age of 27. Dang, Lewis, flex much? Oh, and then there's Clark. He kind of just joined the army at 19 because why not, where he served with Lewis, and was eventually commissioned by President George Washington as Lieutenant of Infantry. He returned home eventually to manage his family's estate, and 7 years later, Lewis chose him to embark on an epic quest that would help shape America's history. Lewis knew that exploring the Louisiana Territory would be no small task, and began preparations immediately. He studied medicine, botany, astronomy, and zoology, and studied many existing maps and journals of the region. Ooh, what's my job? Go, Captain. You know you can't do that. Hush, James. They began their journey on July 5th, 1803. Lewis met up with Clark in Clarksville and entrusted Clark to recruit men for their Corps of Volunteers for the Northwest Discovery. Why is the name so long? I have no idea. Clark recruited and trained men at Camp Dubois. He chose unmarried, healthy men who were good hunters and knew survival skills. Their expedition party included 47 men, including Lewis and Clark, and Lewis's slave York. But we'll get to York later. On May 14, 1804, Clark and his crew joined Lewis in St. Charles, Missouri, and headed straight up to the Missouri River in a keelboat and two smaller boats. At a rate about 15 miles per day, heat, swarms of insects, and strong river currents made the trip not so fun at best. Now, on their journey, they knew they were bound to interfere with some of the native tribes that lived in the area, so Jefferson decided it'd be a great idea to include the team with a pendant called the Peace Medal, which is basically inscribed with Jefferson's face, which by logic would make the tribes instantly like the Americans for some reason, though when they did meet up with the indigenous people and Lewis did present them with the medal, they were more interested in York. They'd never seen anyone like him. He was a different skin tone, he was super tall and strong, so they kinda ended up using him as a peace medal instead. They met over a dozen native tribes along the way, like the Shoshone, Mandan, Blackfeet, and the Sioux. And on their way upstream, they encountered a Shoshone woman named Sacagawea, who will take the title as the one that literally saved all their butts more than once and was the only reason why they survived on this journey in the first place, because their sense of direction was bad. Anyway. As the team reached Fort Mandan, they ran into a French-Canadian trapper, Cherubanou, and his pregnant Shoshone wife, Sacagawea. They hired him as a translator since he spoke a bit of the native language and allowed Sacagawea to come along. Wait, you mean to tell me you hired this French man who only speaks a bit of the native language, but she's fluent? Yes. Spoiler alert, she did all of the translating. Sacagawea explained that she was kidnapped by her tribe's rival clan, the Hitseta, and was sold to Cherubanou when she was 12. Yeah, I don't like him either. She was able to guide the team through the river and help them gather food and explain in greater detail which animal was actually what. It was also interesting that her and York were able to vote for certain ideas or plans within the Corps, which was actually the first time in history a black man or a woman, an indigenous woman at that, were able to vote. Dang, that's cool. On February 11th, 1805, Sacagawea gave birth to a baby boy named Gene, who Clark immediately grew fond of and nicknamed Pompey. He quickly became a valuable asset to the journey since a woman traveling with her child with a group of men was a sign of peace. They crossed through Montana and made their way to the Continental Divide down Lemmy Pass, where with Sacagawea's help, they purchased horses from the Shoshone leader, who happened to be Sacagawea's brother. Whoa, what a twist! After a heartfelt reunion, they continued their journey downstream. They crossed the Bitterroot mountain range and trekked through Lolo Trail until they made it to Idaho's Clearwater River. The natives there helped them regain their health and offered them a place to stay for the night. After recollecting their supplies, the team went through Snake River and the Columbia River. They reportedly ate dog meat along the hard trail instead of wild game. Ew? The corpse at this point was pooped, and on November of 1805, finally they made it to the stormy Pacific Ocean, in which they found no root. Well, we tried. No, Lewis. The journey was never about the Pacific Ocean or the woolly mammoths. It was about the friends we made along the way. Okay. On March 23, 1806, the corps left the fort for home. After retrieving their horses, they made their way through the Bitterroot mountain range and split up at Lolo's Pass. Lewis's group took a shortcut north of the Great Falls of the Missouri River, while Clark, along with Sacagawea's family, went south along the Yellowstone River. The group planned to meet up where the Missouri rivers met in North Dakota. Sounds easy, right? Wrong! So while Clark had the most wholesome moment with Poppy by carving his name into a rock he named after him, Lewis was accidentally shot in the butt during a hunting trip. Yeah, poor guy didn't have a great day. That's it! Lay down on the boat! This corpse is a freaking nightmare! On August 12th, the crew was reunited. They dropped off Sacagawea's family at the Mandan villages and came home to a hero's welcome. So... No. What? Fork it over, Thomas. So, what lessons did we learn? How did this help America grow from sea to shining sea? Well, I like to believe not only did this help future explorers not get lost in the Louisiana territory and establish some of the first familiarity and respect with some of the indigenous people, but it is a start to so many stories within the land and is a huge part of our country's growth into what it is today. The good and the bad. And if it weren't for those stories in the past, we wouldn't be here where we are today, to live for the future. Lewis and Clark traveled up west from the Corps of Discovery's Camp DuBois in St. Louis. There was only one recording death along the journey, being the death of Sergeant Floyd, who died of a ruptured appendix. They encountered the Sioux and made it up to Fort Mandan in the winter of 1804, and continued up the stream until they ran into the Blackfeet at Lolo's Pass. They also encountered the Nez Perce and made it to the Fort Clatsop top in the winter of 1806. They successfully made it back down their original trail with no other casualties, and this concluded their journey.